Hi, Valon ran down a summary of Q1, and I thought I should do an update because the year so far has been anything but planned or what we expected. Let's start with January. We had two vans on the Multidrop, and the other two were meant to go on CX. Ad hoc work and whatever. January was quiet. Some of the drivers had holidays, so we didn't actually use CX. The multi-drop was keeping us ticking over. And I started looking for a new van because the Boxer is going to be 3 years old. We're going to stop paying the finance in September, and everyone is saying it's going to be 10 months, so January seemed like a good place to start looking for a new van. And I actually found MANs. Managed to get in touch with a local dealer, and he was like, we got 6 coming in February. I was like, great. Have you got anything to test ride? And he was just, no. So I didn't feel comfortable jumping into another brand, completely different van that I've never driven before, because the spec sheet was amazing, actually. They were 4.2 meter long. I mean, the body, which would have been perfect for the multi-drop we're doing. I think they had cruise control, aircon, and reversing camera, which sounds like a perfect spec. But that didn't happen. And in February, we managed to get a third account on the multi-drop. So that means really easy work. All the drivers, including myself, enjoy it. So there's no invoicing, there's no chasing, there's just you show up, you do it, you go home. And even more remarkable, someone called me out of nowhere asking if we have a van available to do a collection. So we started doing a regular sample collections from various places around where we live, which is not that profitable, but it's a regular run weekly payment. So the way the reason I'm doing it, it pretty much pays for the wage and fuel of the van. The only thing left is insurance, but then the run itself starts at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's still a lot of capacity to do other jobs. The goal is for the driver to do some local stuff around Ipswich, get another 100, 200 pounds just to pay for the insurance and like running costs of the vehicle, and then all the wages and everything else will be covered from the regular run. We managed to actually team up with 3 jobs now. From 2 actually were from Shipley and 1 was from CX. We already knew the van is going to be running that way, so just every now and again I keep looking for some bits to either take back or deliver on the way towards London. And so far, was it 2 months? We've done it 2.5. It's not great. To be fair, I'm not focusing that much on it because I'm much happier for the van to do something around Ipswich rather than consolidating loads, because it just gets complicated, especially when we're dealing with like eBay customers. Anyway, I started looking at leasing vans because there was no luck. I didn't really want to wait 10 months because the problem was everyone that I spoke to said 10 months ? So that didn't really. I'm not in a position to put money down on a van that will be either 6 months or 12 months from now. I need to know the date so I can work towards it. But we found a lease Renault Master, which was almost a perfect spec. It was H3L3, I think. So not as big as the Boxer, but it will be a good replacement. It somehow disappeared. It was meant to be ready in like 2 weeks, early March, I think, and that disappeared. And then to top it all up, Sprinter broke. It kept having like engine light. It was losing power. The turbo was not working. It turns out it was an EGR leak. Basically, there were like 2 parts that when the engine was getting hot, it was losing boost or something, and it took I think 6 weeks to solve it, because they were changing sensors, changing everything, and I wasn't in any rush because, again, drivers were on holiday, so the 3 months we had were keeping the workforce busy. And finally, when it came to collecting it, it was a big bill. But a lot of bits were replaced, even like injectors, because we've done injectors last year. We've done about 50 or 60,000 miles on those injectors, and then now they I think they were electronically broken, so we couldn't even refurbish them. So that's fun. Yeah, so the Master was out, and then the leasing company said, we actually found a Transit. It's going to be available in April. It has aircon, all the bits you want and need. So I was like, great, we can wait. So that brings us to March, where the April van was actually, I got a phone call saying it's actually in the country. It's been built. It's going to be ready to deliver soon. To be delivered soon. And I was like, cool. Does it have aircon? No. So that was just a waste of time. Waiting for another L4 van for June now. We'll see if this one has aircon or not. But there's that. Also in March, I have managed to secure another van from a different company. It was end of March or beginning of April, but I'll include in this update. We're actually getting, hopefully, apparently it's in country, it's already here, just being registered as we speak. So soon we're gonna have a second Ford Transit L3H3, which again, not perfect. It's 3.5 meters long. Ideally need a 4 meter, but just impossible to get. And we could start looking at used ones, but it's the same problem, like no aircon or 30,000 pounds, which is not ideal. Especially if we want to keep the vehicle for like 3, 4, 5 years, which I'm not sure if we will be able to now, because regularly we're going to be doing about 50,000 miles a year. So it's like the leases we have in place, one of them is for 200,000 miles, the other one is for 150 once we collect the vans, and I'm hoping to keep them for a bit longer, as in outside of the terms. One was I'm planning to buy them out at the end of it. Not sure if they're going to be used for the same job or just kept as spare, but at this point we are already planning what vehicles are going to be used as spare, which is crazy. So let's talk about a little bit about the future. So from April, hopefully, at some point in April, we're going to start running 3 vans on the Multidrop, and the small van will be on the pharmacy collections. Also hoping to keep the small van for another 2 years. Boxer, as soon as we can, it's going to be a spare vehicle. Sprinter is up for sale because it's not good for the multi-drop we're doing, and keeping it for CX is no longer worth it, because we could use it. And the original plan, in December was to have 2 vans, 2 people on the multi-drop, and then someone on CX with a Sprinter doing as much work as he could, but being available to cover the multi-drop, because the multi-drop was bringing money every week. And if someone was ill or busy, holiday or whatever, it's easier to take off from the CX than the multi-drop. And also, from the business point of view, it makes no sense to support CX rather than the multi-drop. But even though we're doing less and less work on CX, I think the membership will stay, because it's good when the volume drops. There are times where the multi-drop does not have much work. So usually Mondays, so in those cases, like even CX is quiet, but in theory we can utilize the vehicles on CX, but we shall see. And hopefully in April we're gonna get an L3 Transit, which is gonna be on a 48-month lease. And then in June we should hopefully have an L4 Transit, which is gonna be on 60-month lease. And so yeah, this is gonna be all for this year. We're not gonna be buying any more vans. I think the goal is to get some cash reserve and next year hopefully pay off the insurance in upfront, because the interest rates are getting ridiculous, and I'm hoping we can save a few £1,000s going forward if we pay for insurance upfront. Maybe if we're going to start buying vans in cash, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Like right now, the prices of vans are going up. I think the L2 one is about £6,000 or £7,000 of interest, because it's financed. There's like no additional payments or whatever. The L3 is going to be about £5,500 of interest, and then the L4, I'm not sure the buyout price would have been, but it's still going to be probably £5,000. So looking at those 3 vans alone, over the 4 years, well, 2 of them are 4, 1 is 5. We're going to spend about £15,000 on interest. So the idea is if we start saving cash, we might be able to save a lot of money on interest. However, we wouldn't be at this point. We wouldn't have 4 vans if I wasn't happy with the interest rates. So it's like, do we want to grow, or do we want to save money, or do we want to not spend any money on interest now? That's a difficult choice, and for us it was just growth for now. We're gonna definitely slow down with the growth for at least a year, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, yeah, we might have secure some great works, and this video is gonna be out of date. But yeah,